Hi, Nation. Welcome back to another episode of Ohio State Football with Scarlet and Great. Johnny Bullet here. Thank you so much for spending your Sunday with me again, your Sunday or Monday or however you've been doing it the last few weeks. I've really enjoyed this with you. So thanks for coming back. We got a loaded show today. We're going to review a little bit of what happened last night in the entire landscape of college football and the Buckeyes being number one. And we'll have our normal fun with that team up north as always. But make sure, guys, that you are subscribed to the channel and get those notifications turned on so you can have Sunday coffee with me or Sunday or whatever your routine is. Sunday, Monday, Buckeye recap, national football or national landscape college football where the Buckeyes lay with all of that. So join me on Sundays. Turn the notifications on. Make sure you subscribe. It helps us a lot. It will grow the channel and it will bring more videos to you just like this one. So again, thanks for being here, guys. Enjoying some coffee with you inside in a chilly Cleveland, Ohio, covering the Buckeyes. All right, guys, let's get into the show. We have Ohio State slamming Sparty. We're going to talk about, are they number one? Some of the things that transpired during the game, during the game. Some of the brilliance of Ryan Day. The defense, is it as advertised? Is it better than the numbers suggest? I believe it is. And then a little bit of fun with that team of North, as we said. All right, quick lessons learned from last night's absolute beatdown of Michigan State. They were supposed to beat both these teams down the last 2 weeks. It's hard to always do exactly what you're supposed to do, as you've seen throughout college football with the struggles of others. But here we go. Just some things that may not have been, right in the precipice of your mind as you watched, because it's just, hey, man, another beatdown. What do we gather from this? Well, here we go. Mike Hall, absolute animal. Do you guys see this guy? Even when he's not making the play he's in on, it's so funny. And I know it's different position. They're both interior linemen, but it's crazy watching Teron Vincent playing next to Mike Hall. It just looks like they're not even playing the same sport. Again, I know a little bit different responsibilities. One's a nose tackle, Mike Hall being a 3-tech, but still. And even Teron Vincent made a play. I think it's like a second or third tackle all year. The guy is just kind of there. Just a guy, as old Mr. Urban would say, Jag, just a guy. But, yeah, it makes me wonder, where's Tyleik Williams? Can we have a playmaker there? But, yeah, when they left him completely unblocked, Teron Vincent actually made a play. But Mike Hall, man, is just pushing that pocket, getting home. And I think that's what this defensive line needs. When you have Jack Sawyer standing up, a lot of times I don't think it's advantageous to his style. I think he'd be better just playing true defensive end, but this is Jim Knowles' system. I'm not going to doubt him. The ball gets out really quick sometimes. The defensive ends can't really get home and get a sack a lot of times unless the quarterback holds the ball. You really need that pocket to be pushed, that interior of the line to collapse, and Mike Hall provides that. I think he had 2.5 sacks last night. He was just around the ball all the time, creating havoc. That's the guy you want on your side when we play Alabama, Georgia, Clemson, that kind of a playoff team. Even that team up north, rivalry game at the end of the year. You want your Mike Halls. That's why I scream for, where's Tyleik Williams? I don't want one Mike Hall and just a guy next to him. We need some disruptors. Mike Hall is that dude. This next banner is going to surprise you a little bit because Travion Henderson had a very nice game. He averaged more yards per carry than Blake Corum, who's supposed to be something amazing. And he had the bulk of the carries. But Mayan Williams, in my mind, this just proved it is still running back one. Travion looked fine. I loved him. He had better vision than he usually runs with. He popped a big one off, right? But you have to think 18 carries plus to Mayan, and it looks even better than that, right? In your heart of hearts, you know that Mayan would have done even better with the same amount of carries if he was running back one. Not taking anything from Trey. I think he did fine. I just think this solidified that you have a good problem. You have two stellar backs. Now, as I said last week with Corey, I think running backs, I don't like splitting tit for tat on carries. I like freshness. I like rotations to an extent. But running backs get better the more you give them the ball, up to probably about 25 carries, okay? So sometimes even more than that. I want the one guy to just be rhythm hot, rhythm hot. I know it's not a perfect world, but Mine Williams as your running back one. Travion Henderson still did absolutely fine, and I loved it. And that leads me to the next point. For all you guys that thought Ryan Day didn't like to run or didn't like to, couldn't call plays very well, the guy's the best offensive mind Ohio State's ever had. This guy, this is why I think he loves the pass, and this is why I love the pass. Also knowing you do need the run. You need the run for toughness, ball control, short yardage, et cetera, et cetera. But you look at this box score, see all the touchdowns by CJ. You see all the wide receivers getting in. You would think, oh, it was a little pass happy. No, 46 rush attempts to only 23 pass attempts. Now you're looking at about 5-6 yards a carry versus like 13.9 an attempt. That's kind of why the game has evolved towards the pass. It's so much more effective, especially with CJ, especially with these receivers. However, down a running back, again, what are we going to do to control this game? Ryan Day still runs the ball a lot and passes for massive chunks. What do? You're down a running back. Oh, guess what? You're going to do some toss sweeps to wide receivers. Okay. You had Xavier Johnson out there getting in on it with some nice carries, like 3 carries, 7 yards a pop. Very, very nice game. Brilliant mind of Ryan Day. You're down a running back. You still run the ball 46 times. And they look just fine. And honestly, there would have been more yardage per carry if there wasn't just ramming the ball on the line of scrimmage a lot at the end. So I really think that this shows the brilliance of Ryan Day. For all you guys that said he didn't like to run, it goes back to my point. Didn't run last year because of the offensive line. This is the same guy that ran the 2019 offense where they ran J.K. Dobbins through the fire and did excellent at it. When the team is not good at something, you don't just keep continuing to do it against, you don't just stay stubborn. Now, what do I think this means? This means that the offensive line is much improved again, and Ryan Day is going to call to the strengths of the team. And look, he's running the ball a lot. Now, yardage-wise, it's not going to show as much because the pass is so wonderful, what he can do with those receivers and CJ and et cetera, et cetera. But there you have it. Brilliant, Ryan Day. Leave this man alone. No one's perfect, but this is the best offensive mind Ohio State's ever had. All right, for all those rushing yards, real quick. I know you guys love to run the ball. A lot of you out there, I love seeing it just controlling the game. Can we get one like for each rushing yard last night on this video? 237 rushing yards down. Basically your starting running back. Down your starting running back, still 237 rushing yards. I think that's an awesome accomplishment. So let's take a pause, get a little coffee, and I'll let you go ahead and like this video. All right. This defense, guys, I know there are some hiccups, but I think this defense is actually better than the numbers suggest. Now, before this game has not got compiled into the stats yet, but they were number 10 defense in the country in total yardage per game last week. You look and you say, 20 points. That's not great to a bad Michigan State team. However, only 6 points were given up by the starters. You had backups in, give up a late touchdown, right? You had a really bad just decision made in a pick six, okay? You really just had 6 points because the extra point got blocked. 6 points given up by this defense, okay? That's pretty awesome. And you look at the other game plays, you look at Toledo, the score kind of crept up there because of some big time plays, some just athletic moves made by DeQuan Finn. But the box score actually doesn't show how fantastic this defense. Now, I don't think this is Jim Tressel days of old where you just sometimes don't even let teams get first downs. There's a little bit of movement in the ball. There's some offense mustered every now and then. But this is legit, guys. Don't let the box score fool you. This is not like teams scoring really late to make the score look nice and pretty, or vice versa, that some teams like to do. No, this is Jim Knowles in his system absolutely crushing it. So with that being said, you have a defense on the precipice of the top 10, you have top 1, 2, or 3 offense in the country. TCU and Tennessee are doing really well too. Should the Buckeyes be number 1? That's what I want to know. Listen, you can only give Alabama so much credit for being down. Look, you think Ohio State struggles at that bad with Texas A&M with Kyle McCord? I know they were down a quarterback. No, I don't think they struggled that much. You think Georgia's Kent State game? You think Georgia? Now I know they had a great game, South Carolina and Oregon, but you think Georgia's Missouri game would be excused if it was Ohio State? Come on now. Ohio State had its moment that Alabama had in week 1 against Texas. All right. But they beat Notre Dame by double digits. All right. So, and keep in mind, Ohio State's doing all this without its 1,600-yard receiver returning. So let's keep all that in mind too. You want to talk about injuries and gameplay and stuff. At some point, we just have to look the situation in the eye and say Ohio State's best team in the country are at least deserving to be the number 1 ranking. Let me know. Comment your ranking. Georgia, yes, dispatched of terrible Auburn pretty badly. However, they needed a 21-point fourth quarter to do it. They needed to break out 21 points in the fourth quarter to do it. And I know the game's 4 quarters and you count it all, but they're not dominating these games. Look what they did last week against Missouri. Look what they did Kent State. This has to count for something, okay? Alabama down to the wire. I mean, they were they were a quarterback throwing the ball a little sooner out of the break away from losing to terrible Texas A&M with a backup quarterback. I know both teams had a backup. You want to talk about Bama didn't have its quarterback? Well, neither did Texas A&M. So at some point, you have to look this situation in the face and be honest and say, I know, Southerners. I know it just means more, but Ohio State's best team in the country right now. That team up north. Let's get an LOL Michigan in the comments. How about that? They continue to struggle. Take a look at box scores. 10-31 against Indiana. 1, that's not that impressive. 2, they needed a big fourth quarter to do that, right? J.J. McCarthy looks nice in the passing stats. However, when his team needed him the most, he threw a touchdown, threw an interception in the end zone, caused the game to stay tight. The first half, Michigan's defensive backs looked really suspect. They just don't look that scary. That's why I told everybody, calm down. I know you're running the ball all over these terrible teams. Not everybody's UConn, okay? You played the worst schedule known to man. This team, could you imagine if Ohio State beat Maryland by 1 score, Iowa by a couple scores, and then a couple scores over Indiana? You would look and say, we would look at Buckeye Nation and say something. This is sloppy. This is like 2015, midseason 2014, where it's just not hitting on all cylinders yet, right? This is a sloppy team, 2016 even. Now, thankfully, we don't have that problem right now, and we are actually crushing these teams. Now, we're going to see some common opponents with Iowa, and we're going to play Indiana later as well. But it's possible to have a letdown game, but Michigan's not having letdown games. They're having this every game. Every game they're struggling to pull away from these teams because Jim Harbaugh plays a 1984 offense, and it just stops your team from really blowing the other team out. It's just this pro-style ball control. Let me just figure out a way to stay a little bit ahead of these guys type of offense. And that is not going to get it done. That is going to get you 1 win and 5 losses and 1 dodge against your rivalry. We're out of time, guys. Real quick, I just want to say, please subscribe to this channel. We got the bye week coming up. We're going to continue to bring you content. I want to continue to spend these days with you. I want you to be right back here. So subscribe to the channel. It helps us grow so much. We'd love to come back at the end of the bye week for the Iowa game with 4,800 or more subscriptions. That's an easy goal. We're over 4,700 right now. Let's blow that goal out of the water. and we'll see you next time. As always, goodbye, God bless, and go Bucks.